watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever. The farthest won't take me, the highest fall it won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me, made me. I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Hello guys, Afreeca Freecs take the first set in convincing fashion. And now we're here with a post-game segment with Tangun and Midori. So, this was a very important match for both teams. And all the other teams still have a lot of important matches coming up. So in the end, Afreeca Freecs was the winner. And Spirit's Olaf was definitely very, very good and instrumental to the team's victory. So out of them, the bottom dive was really instrumental to Afreeca Freecs' victory. So let's analyze what happened in that game. So you see Olaf here, leading the ward. The enemy spotted Olaf, destroying the ward. And Olaf had more HP than Talia at this moment. So in this situation, Spirit is able to get the enemy blue buff. And Talia here sees the missing blue. So Olaf actually pulled the blue buff so that Talia couldn't see it. So Talia was unable to identify what time the blue was taken. And here Olaf uses the ult and goes for the dive. And he just goes for the Israel straight and just pulverizes him. And here Talia is forced to escape, run away, but as he is gallivanting away, he dives to Olaf's X. There are moments where we can predict the dive, but this one, and this one was definitely unexpected, and this one was very crucial. Looking at this, this one definitely was a mistake that Junior made. And this was the result of Afreeca Freecs' proactive plays. Okay, let's have a look at another highlight. So if you have a look at the inventory, Israel actually used the time stopwatch. And it's 7:59, 1 second before 8 o'clock. And at 8:02, Gragas's stopwatch was usable. So knowing the cooldowns and knowing your items definitely helped Afreeca Freecs pull off a successful dive. So Afreeca Freecs was very good at speculation. So let's have a look at the few comments that the community is commenting on. So Kenan, he is worthy of the title of the national representative, and AD Kenan is so strong. Aatrox is a must-ban champion, and Spirit, we can't leave this Olaf out. And another comment says that 6 supports were banned in the game. So we have the one line summary. This game was very important to Afreeca Freecs because they needed to get into the playoffs. And here says Olaf. So Olaf will carry them to playoffs. That's what it says. And that seems to be the end of the segment. I'll throw it back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Andy. And I'm glad to see that you weren't too trolled by the one-line summary, because Olaf was pretty damn strong in that early game. Wouldn't be surprised if Spirit also picked himself up an MVP. And there you go, 4-0-5. Have to remember that Kramer played fantastically well. Tucson played out of his mind despite missing a couple of casts in the mid to late game. Didn't matter. It was control everywhere for the Afreeca Freecs.
And there's a big smile from Spirit, one of the long-standing members of Korean League of Legends. Welcome back to Andy as well. If you guys are wondering, Joel just couldn't take any more one-line summary.
Yeah, he'd had enough.
He just couldn't do it anymore. He'd had enough. The last one was just too egregious, so
yeah,
we had to sub him out for a day. He'll get even some rest as, well, maybe Jinair will be sent into their final resting place for 2018. After this game, Atlas, in game number 1, they tried to make a trade. They left open the Aatrox, and while the Aatrox wasn't a pivotal pick, it is a 1-3-1 champion that can do a whole hell of a lot, and the rest of his team was certainly looking good.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an odd move there from Kuro if you saw the flash into not being able to complete the kill, but this was Tucson getting the sweet body slam flashes and slowing down all of his opponents, and JAG GreenWings couldn't really do anything in the mid game. Afreeca Freecs had full control. And it had a lot to do with that Olaf you can see on your screen. This was great, one of the party casts, but then you get one of the sweetest flash body slams. Lock down the kill onto Grace.
Well, if you don't even need to hit those casts, lets you know that you're doing pretty well in this game. Kramer's Demon Flare wasn't exploding anyone, but Keen showed up. The Maelstrom was quite slicing, his auto attacks even more slicing.
Yeah.
Definitely cut some pretty coarse bread with that knife. They go through, a triple kill, could have been a quadra. A lot of KS's in this game. One done by Keen, so that one was long overdue. And Spirit's smiling, so that probably means Afreeca Freecs picked up the victory.
It also probably means that we're not going to see Mowgli for game number 2. Looks like we're not going to have any of the player swaps. Not going to see anything over the side of Jinair either. Not going to see Justice or Kakao for the last remaining potential game for the JAG GreenWings in 2018. We're just going to be jumping straight into game number 2. See whether they can have one remaining jaunt on the Rift, or whether it's going to be 2 with a Jinair victory here in this game. Have a feeling that Aatrox is probably going to see a ban this time around as we hop into Champion Select for game 2.
Rakan, first ban on blue side, and Afreeca say, no more of this nonsense. We're going to ban the Aatrox ourselves. Blue side meta is to ban away supports. At the moment, Tahm Kench is the ultra first pick in everybody's minds, and in this 1-3-1 Rise, Gnar, Tahm Kench meta, makes a lot of sense to contest that one. Will probably be Afreeca Freecs' third ban on the red side. Let's see what Jinair want to ban on the blue side, especially because Afreeca just played a game with no marksman, so kind of weird to consider where Afreeca want to go in their draft.
And interesting that Jinair are looking to trade between both Tahm Kench and the Shen. See where the priority is going to go. Both Key and Tucson liking both of those champions a lot so far this season, but Tucson hasn't necessarily looked as good on the Tahm Kench.
Right now the meta is so Tahm Kench focused that it will be first picked in almost every scenario. Shen's banned away, and seems like Afreeca Freecs are screaming out, please first pick Tahm Kench, so maybe they have a pocket counter that we haven't seen so far. Soraka is the most annoying lane matchup into it.
Might be something else that they want to prioritize as well elsewhere on the map, but I can't really see it standing out at the moment. Tahm Kench, the obvious first pick.
Well, the kind of problem is that if you give up Shen as well, the only other champion that can do a Tahm Kench roleplay in the late game is Shen, because you can just 2v1 in the top lane and Shen can rejoin after using his ultimate. So Shen being banned away means they don't have a global support. They'll answer the Tahm Kench, so I want to see some lane destruction. They're going to start the lane destruction with a Varus.
Yep, Varus certainly a good option here, as now where do they go as far as their support is concerned? Certainly a lot of options here for Tucson to jump to. The Braum available was banned in our first series.
You can Braum Taric if you want to take a melee champion that does just fine. I think Soraka is the best choice in lane, because you can get kills by just silencing him through the Grey Health. He won't be able to use it, but compositionally, you
Pike
can understand.
Was also a decent choice.
True. You can understand the value of Varus Braum as a duo. Very strong CC duo, so that's going to be picked up by the Afreeca Freecs. Jin Air, all of the junglers on the board except for Talia. Where do they want to go? At least an old favorite for Umti, but seems unlikely to be taken this early.
Yeah, I do like aggressive choices for Umti, so having a ganking jungler in the first few levels is a good idea, but locking down the Ashe Tahm Kench lane does make the most sense. This was Gen G, you wouldn't even think twice about it. That one would be taken, and now it would be something like a Sejuani, but the Gragas another option here for Umti if he wants to go with a little bit more of a standard jungle pick.
Gragas is actually, at the moment, quietly the strongest jungler behind Talia in Korea, because people love it into the Trundle matchup. Trundle's seen as an unreliable ganker and can't really punish 1-3-1, which is what the meta is right now very well, because he doesn't have true engage. He has the conditional engage with the pillar. So you're going to see games like this where Trundle's going to fall through picks and bans increasingly frequently. Going to feel really good about having the Gragas on the side of Jin Air, even though it hasn't been a comfort pick for Umti in the past. Just one game so far this season. And we see pick CC on both sides, but neither side committing to an identity in the first round of the draft.
Interestingly enough, Spirit hasn't been jumping on the Sejuani that much this season. Only a couple of games so far with a win and a loss. So curious to see him prioritizing that over other junglers that he's certainly prized much more highly. GP going to be banned away from Kenan, does make a lot of sense. The Zoe, of course, going against Grace. We'll see where the mid lane is going to be for Kuro. Certainly a lot of options as they can ban away mid and then pick a comfortable champion there.
Afreeca could ban the Vel'Koz and pick the Rise, but Kuro's a resident Vel'Koz player, so maybe going to just keep mid lane for last pick. LeBlanc is turning into a blind pick mid laner. Yukal had his competitive debut on the LeBlanc and popped off yesterday.
He did.
So LeBlanc priority going up, and another champion that can do decently in a 1-3-1. Yasuo banned against Kuro pretty frequently recently.
And also
here,
the double wall ban as well. Unbreakable plus wind wall makes the counter siege ridiculously frustrating to deal with. Azir going to be picked up though, and a lot of his counters have been taken away in the Zoe and the LeBlanc that have good matchups. Still a few options here available for Jin Air if they want to take something into it.
and remember, the Azir used to be the Bronx Cheer champion for Kuro. He had a career 22% win rate on it before 2018. But he was actually frequently getting Azir bans. He killed that meme. Just like Riot killed a lot of memes last year. And that's been the big thing, is that now the Azir is a power pick for them. Grace is actually going to prefer the Syndra into the matchup. We haven't seen Azir versus Syndra in summer just yet, so a return to a matchup that we saw in spring. Blind pick top lane is required. So one has good win rate on the Darius, but Darius priority at an all-time low for summer.
Yeah, so not going to be picked up, and the Kenan is going to be opted in for here from Sowan. A pick comp coming together for the Jin Air GreenWings that would be disastrous in the mid game if they can get vision control around the map. Afreeca Freecs with a lot of team fight, a lot of front to back, and we'll see what they augment it with on the top side of the map as the Camille looked as the pick into the Kenan.
Strongest possible laning matchup here is Jace, but Jace, of course, does warp the draft. It's going to be Rise top, actually, from Kenan, an old favorite from him. Rise versus Kenan. See if the Kenan can deal with some of the trades in this lane, and if it also necessitates AD Kenan try to take down the Rise. Rise very comfortable. Most matchups famously does very well in the Vladimir matchup that we used to see at the start of the season. I'm most interested in the mid lane Syndra because to me Azir can poke the Syndra pretty damn well. And yes, there is the potential for one rotation burst, but Merc Treads and also the very defensive summoner here picked up in the barrier is going to make that very tricky for Jin Air. So Grace out of nowhere jumps on the Syndra, a lot of pick CC, but if the Syndra falls behind, she can be isolated and find it very difficult to follow Azir into the side lane.
And I'm very interested to see what Kramer is going to do as far as his build path as well. We might see the Lethality Varus coming out of him because Jin Air's composition isn't necessarily tanky. The Gragas will get a few items. The Tahm Kench is going to have a decent health pool, but other than that, it's going to be a lot of pretty easy targets as Syndra lacking a lot of that mobility, not going to be really slippery on that caster in the backline. Ashe, a very similar story as well. So we'll see whether he can be actually whittling people down or whether it is going to be more of that auto-attack damage, trying to opt in for a lot of consistency. A lot of options here for Kramer on the bottom side of the map in a definite comfort pick for him.
Jin Air have not rolled over and died in recent memory. They've actually gone, I believe, 4 series without picking up at least a single game victory. Afreeca Freecs just want to get it done here and go to the playoffs. A victory would secure that.
Yep, they managed to take down Griffin and then have not had a series that hasn't gone to 3 games since, with very difficult opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get into game 2 and see if they can do it again.
소환사의 협조를 환영합니다.
Jin Air fans here in the Soli Stadium certainly have their voices raised, because if you're a Jin Air fan, this might be the last opportunity that you get to see them this year.
Well, that is definitely an Amumu there, and we're being told he is a big Amumu fan. I guess was implied by the picture.
Yeah. That was his name in Korean on the left, but my Korean's not good enough to read I like Amumu.
Well, we're unlikely to see any more Amumu this year. MVP are done, and MVP are the only Amumu team in the world.
They are.
Looking at Kuro's win rate, remember it used to be lower, so he was able to find a lot of success and bans on this champion in spring season. He had his 1,000 kill video before spring season and talked about his low points of his champion pool.
And they had the highlights as well of the low points of the Azir.
He had
which were
highlights and lowlights
fantastic.
in his same video.
He
And
did.
that's kind of been the Kuro story. Kuro, really good character. We got to work with him quite a bit, Valdez and I, for the filming of the English interview before the,
for the
spring final. And really lovely guy. Great interview as well. Real character. And he's managed to turn the frown upside down on the Azir, and that's to the credit of Kuro.
Well, looking towards the bottom side here, Papa and Kramer has decided to go for the lethal tempo, so more of the auto-attack focused Varus.
Now, the reason why this might be, because I think you had some good analysis of enemy team's pretty squishy, why not lethality Varus, is that finally, with enough data points, teams have realized, yes, lethality Varus is good, but closing the game without attack speed or critical strike or just in general consistent damage and only burst from the marksman kind of gets you back into awesome dude territory, because you're not that good at actually killing turrets. You can siege well, but you don't kill the turrets that well, and you're not that good at doing the Baron. It takes you a long time.
Yeah.
So people have kind of moved away from it, and it seems like maybe the lethality Varus was just a flash-in-the-pan 2-week thing rather than an actual turn in the meta.
And it was Jin Air that was almost able to take down KT Rolster as well. When they were running the lethality Varus in the final game of that series, it was actually a bit of a heartbreaker for Jin Air fans when that moment was happening. So I see exactly your point, Papa.
It kind of frustrated me, I know, very early in the season when just everyone was playing mages and we had some of the best 80 carries of all time playing mages. I was, 3 weeks in, like, okay, I'm done with these awesome dudes, done with the people who don't know how to play Vladimir and Swain playing these champions, go back to the marksman. And by the end of the season, we had Bang saying, well, it turns out closing the game with a marksman is a lot easier, which, of course, you wish they could have realized earlier. But the big takeaway point there is Baron damage and sieging is a very important thing to find. It almost always comes out of the marksman role, the person who's going to group rather than a 1-3-1 champion. We're going to see plenty of marksmen, and maybe even at the cost of something like that lethality Varus.
Yeah, I think so too. Spirit and Umti gonna at least spot each other. Gragas-esque roaming around his jungle, but pretty much a full clear. The red buff is going to be the last ticket. He managed to take the Rift Scuttler on the top side as well, so definitely a trade of the full jungle. Spirit gonna go back before grabbing that Krog camp. Has enough to get his Chili Smite, which is good news. Teddy and Nova going a little bit more aggressive. That's because they had lane priority. Not a lot of minions there, meaning that the Afreeca Freecs now have the wave in a pretty nice position. Grace having nothing in a very nice position here, as at least he has his summoner spells, but otherwise that's 150 health and not exactly a great spot against Kuro.
Grace made a pretty big mistake in this matchup. It's not necessarily picking up the Syndra, which was obviously to a degree of risk. Notice what Kuro has done. Kuro has actually indexed into the most lane sustain possible. We don't have his runes on screen or the ability to call it up, but I guarantee you he went Biscuiteer, Time Warp Tonic, and also the Corrupting Potion start, which is what we see from Rise to get through hard lanes. Yeah. He has Barrier, the most selfish healing, or shooting I should say, summoner in the game. Grace has actually gone for the Doran's Ring start. Unless you're going to get a level 2 cheese gank, you're just going to lose out on trades because the enemy has unlimited regen and you have very limited regen. And that's why we see the Syndra poked out of lane with only a little bit of extra AP and health to show for it.
Well, Kuro got his back stopped as well, which is bad news. No teleport available, like you were mentioning. It was the barrier instead. So that's good news for Grace. We'll be able to even this one out. But now we've got a Dark Seal and an old Magic Mantle, and Kuro is feeling even better about this lane scenario.
I think it's important that Riot nerf some combination of Biscuiteer, Time Warp, Tonic, and just stop it from this regen start, because this regen start is really dominating in Korea right now. It feels like you can get through almost any mage versus mage matchup, regardless of strength, with just having so much sustain. Free from the runes.
Yeah.
Not going to be changed on 8.14. We're probably going to be on 8.15 for playoffs, and I haven't seen too much in 8.16, but it is definitely a growing trend. If you're seeing Rise blind pick into Orianna again and again, it's a good sign that something's changed around the meta, because Orianna was an old counterpick to the Rise.
Exactly. And now we're going to have a 3v3 here on the bottom side. It's a good boop in from Umti, because they do try and find a lot of damage. Oh god, Kramer having to use the cleanse very early, but the minion not going to chase after him. Spirit comes down enough to try and stop Jin Air from getting any more work done, and Kramer wanting to stick around for these minions. Cleanse taken, remember, not the teleport, as there's this Emperor's Divide in the mid lane, and Grace is going to get chased down by Kuro.
Yeah, he's level 6 to level 5, so has a big lead when it comes to these trades. He can continue chasing upwards because there's no minions for him to ping level 6 on the top side. So nice trade from Kuro, no summoners required. He gets the heal first out of Syndra. Good sign this lane has gone to Hell in a Handbag very quickly. And nothing Umti can do pre-6.
Certainly good news for Afreeca Freecs fans. Remember, it doesn't matter about the scoreline, but Afreeca do not want to bring this to an ace match, because that's when the nerves really start to kick in, their playoffs hopes, only to stay alive from this, and they will be starting at the very bottom of that gauntlet as well. Afreeca Freecs, imagine that, getting the dream run through the gauntlet.
You got me smiling, because ace match is a Korean esports term. That's from StarCraft, right?
Yeah.
Old StarCraft term. Never called it the ace match in LCK history, but then again, we used to have blind picks, so things were different in the past. Umti and Spirit meeting each other.
Umti getting a really nice trade there with the upgrade W. Able to brawl pretty drunkenly, as we're going to have a look at the top side of the map. So on having a decent time here against Keem, but you can see that trade working out fantastically well for our resident top lane Rise player.
Because I haven't seen this matchup, I didn't want to fully call it, but just like the Vladimir versus Rise matchup, it seems like Rise is going to take this matchup pretty happily. It is the on-hit Kenan coming through from So1, so we know that he needs a couple of items to truly have kill pressure in a side lane.
We know that Kane's very comfortable right now, has himself the tier and his boots as well. So Umti's going to come up and try and move that in their favor. No mana left for Keen, but the flash immediately to come out. Solan's going to hold on to his, and that is certainly a successful gank there from Umti. While spending not too much time, Spirit grabs away his big raptor, but Grace is being frustrating. Trying to deny.
Keen was greeting super hard for the one more minion wave and had no mana, so wasn't going to be able to turn and trade. That's why it was good gank timing from Umti. No kill to be registered. And we return to the farming phase, which for now does suit Ashe and Tahm Kench just fine in the bottom side.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
Almost lost the patience there.
Going to pick it up and throw it back down though, so no worries there. Grace easily locks down his blue buff in the end. Came with a Sapphire Crystal and the Merc Treads as well, knowing full well that So1 will be going towards the more on-hit build, but he has to go towards Wit's End, which means that those Merc Treads are going to get a lot of value, considering the stun that Kenan has, as well as the on-hit damage being magic when the Wit's End is completed.
Wit's End, just massive value against double AP, and that's why we're going to see it early. Had to be delayed by our Kenan player in the previous game. Watching Afreeca Freecs, they're looking to collapse on this play.
Nova, of course, understanding this play completely, but this is going to be enough. Bottom lane moves up. Jin Air going to walk away from trying to contest this blue buff. So far, things very quiet. 100 gold is going to be the difference between these two teams. Definitely, if you're a Jin Air fan, you're feeling good about that. We know that Jin Air like to bring games late, and the closer it is to parity at that moment, the better things are for the team that wants to get on the Teddy plane. The Teddy plane's flying high. 12 creeps in the lead here for the Ashe. Very comfortable in the lane, just wanting to move around and use that arrow to try and grab some picks that Jin Air will be able to do in this mid-game pretty reliably.
And you say the same thing about Afreeca Freecs, right? Both sides have a pick comp to some degree, and that usually means, given that the pieces on the chessboard just like in the real chess game, are identical, that means that whoever gets the tempo lead, and if the team that gets the control wards down, no control wards in chess, but in this particular game, get the control wards down, if you're face-checking someone with pick CC, you have a bad time. So we're waiting to see who can get that early snowball, because no kills at 10 minutes.
You can see Grace trying to soften up Kuro. Umti lying in wait, actually committing to this one rather hard, but Kuro not going to bite off more than he can chew. And he has himself Bristle and Sejuani on his right-hand side. His right, stage right, which was very confusing for me to think about, but thankfully I did get it correct.
Very spotted on one of those control wards, now 2 top side, giving a bit of a lead to the Kenan in the Rise matchup. On the bot side, we can see the offending control ward. Ooh, even clicked on.
Yeah, Umti actually, though, well and truly in the right position here as Kramer holds on to the flash for a moment, but is going to have to use it. The cleanse goes down as well for basically no reason at all. Jinna, a very successful gank on the bottom side, according to these summoners.
Don't know if the zoning cleanse was quite necessary there, given that Teddy still has his ultimate. Maybe he thought he had heal.
Yeah, maybe he thought that the volley was actually an enchanted crystal arrow. That means Kramer needs to get some glasses, I think, or get his original ones checked. Is King going to take a Rift Scuttler because he's bored on the top side, able to clear out these minion waves very, very quickly. Rise versus Kenan matchup looks to be a pretty boring one, Papa. Just clear out waves one after the other. You can get some flashes if you send a jungler up there, but otherwise it just looks to be trading farm at this moment in time. But Jinna have pulled ahead in every lane when it comes to the CS.
And credit to the Korean observers for showing that, knowing that that control ward was down earlier, Umti saw it placed, he was able to skirt around the vision radius and pull off a cool gank timing. No flash required for that Rek'Sai or Shaco-esque gank path.
Yep.
Umti is just sauntering around vision a lot this game. This is the slipperiest Gragas we've seen in a while.
Elusive Gragas, who would have thought? Not exactly on brand.
You know, we have a Safe Cracker Evelyn skin. Why can't we have a Safe Cracker Gragas skin?
Because he struggles to fit through a lot of the squeeze ways, you know, to get himself into those
Are you sure?
areas. Well, flash going to be gained here in the mid lane. Spirit throws out his ultimate, but Grace heads up play, is going to avoid it.
What are you saying about the ideal body shape for a Safe Cracker?
I just feel like you should probably be as small as possible.
I would agree with you, and yet I think Gragas could work it out.
That's true. I mean, maybe I'm just intolerant. I'm not entirely sure, Papa, but just feel like it's not exactly optimal. But if he does have the quick fingers, you know, it doesn't matter about your size. You can get those safes cracked. I actually watched a movie about safe cracking. I'm trying to remember the size of the safe cracker in the movie. It was a terrible film, though.
Well, it's been a terribly boring early game between Jinna and Afreeca, so I guess we're on brand.
Yeah.
How about an Ocean Drake to ratchet up the tension?
Oh, amazing. Talk about high priority Drakes. The Spirit's going to poke his head in and say, ooh, 1 versus 4. I think I can get the steal. Actually, Kuro is around here. We'll see whether he does come in. There's the Emperor's Divide onto a couple of members. The ultimate paired with Tusins is going to be a lot of CC, but Jinna going to be pretty comfortable at the moment. They've waited out 3 ults, and now Tusins under fire. Kuro here as well. Remember, Conquering Sands, a lot of damage availability here from the Afreeca Freecs, and the AoE is good. They're just going to throw a whole lot of buttons at each other, and teleports are going to be used from both top laners, and then nothing's going to happen.
So the Ocean Drake is the only meaningful takeaway for Jinna. Like you say, so much action threatened. But maybe we'll have to have a back-ended action.
Oh yeah, Grace, not a whole lot of options here. He doesn't have the flash because that went down earlier, and Kramer even going to be able to soak through the Unleashed Power.
Okay. Don't really know why he was there. I guess he was going back to or coming from lane. I kind of lost the train of that one. The bot side, Teddy trying to punish Kramer.
Yeah, the flash going to come out. Exhaust is good from Tucson, but I don't know why Kramer was walking that direction. As at least Tucson can body block for these. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, as our observer is pointing out, still off cooldown. Didn't use it in the last fight, despite the cacophony of action, and it's just going to land on the Kramer. He did have the cleanse available, but Teddy grabs it. Spirit wants to find one back, but they don't have enough damage now that the Varus is dead.
Well, that's why you hold on to it. You thread the needle and pick up the kill anyway. I'm sure you're tilted if you're Kramer. Bending those arrows around was Teddy, and I'm talking about the volley in that case.
Yeah.
They pick up the kill. Kramer does go down, so there is a punishment for Syndra's walkabout around bot lane.
Really interesting positioning, though, from Kramer when he walked back into the lane, and then taking that extra added harass by standing in front of his Braum is bad news. But still, Teddy going to be able to grab that advantage here on the bottom side of the map, and that is great news for any Jin Air fan to hear. Still only a 200 gold game. And with Teddy in the lead, with his first item completed, as well as Berserker's Greaves well on the way. That Runan's Hurricane that should be coming in as item number 2 for the Ashe.
And you have to imagine, if you're Afreeca Freecs 1 game win away from making it to playoffs, you're more likely to overthink this game than Jin Air, who would obviously prefer to win the match, so they are guaranteed to be free of MVP potentially eclipsing them, but with MVP's current struggles, seeming unlikely to pick up a match victory against KT Rolster. So
yeah.
Afreeca Freecs definitely have a lot to lose if they lose this series. And now, with so much parity in the first 15 minutes, no guarantee it's going to be a quick 2-0 for them.
Not feeling that way at all. However, Afreeca Freecs scaling options are certainly pretty phenomenal this game around. And if Spirit can get himself tanky enough, they'll be able to play front to back pretty handedly as well, and also have decent pick potential, a lot of options. With a draft like this, consistent damage up the wazoo. Pop Smithy. Yeah, out of position. He's just going to get smashed by the Emperor's Divide. Good stopwatch here from Nova as he spits out the Fat Man, and another Enchanted Crystal comes in. Teddy trying to free hit on the backside. Triple stun from Grace, but the positioning isn't good enough for the follow-up from Jin Air. They just walk away.
That was an interesting area where Kuro scooped it into the mouth of the Tahm Kench. Not exactly what he wanted to do with the Azir ultimate.
No.
Bit skeptical about some of the players we've seen this game, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been very, very odd, but not necessarily working out in the favor of any team just yet, as it's been mostly a tale of mistakes, like you allude to.
Also not sure about the full health stopwatch from the Tahm Kench, but
yeah, some perplexing plays so far.
there's been a lot of zoning abilities this game.
Yeah,
But not
the
a lot of
zoning
zoning.
cleanse was my favorite. That's a brilliant one. I think that's the best next to zoning Hemoplague. Being absolutely the pinnacle of zoning ultimates.
Those zoning Hemoplagues this game,
Yeah.
but Keen in a non-interactive top lane, even against Wit's End, which does strike you as a dominant first item choice against Rise. Keen's having a very happy time. He already has his Seraph's Embrace well on the way. The Merc Tread's a requirement with all the CC in this game. And now we can start building situational. The 1-3-1, the Realm Walk to potentially turn them into a Baron. Remember the Baron damage of Azir and also a lethal Temple Varus means there is a very good potential Baron turn around 25 to 30 minutes for Afreeca Freecs.
Not to mention double smite, plus they've got Rise, who also does a bajillion damage very consistently over a large period of time. I think you're absolutely right. Afreeca's Baron team, they went from having an absolutely terrible Baron comp to one of the best. Sans maybe a Cho'Gath on the top side of the map and a Callista with the Rend. Like, that's about it. Afreeca Freecs otherwise so much damage. They can take probably one of the fastest Barons ever, but that's a story for about 2 minutes from now. As Rift Herald may not even be looked at here this game, as Umti coming in for a potential gank, but picks the gap as the E's not going to register the stun. Grace?
Kuro stands back, he's firing. Do notice that Kuro has an assist and a 2 CS lead when the Syndra was picked into Azir, so things haven't gone ideally. For the Syndra pick, had about a 10 CS lead earlier in the laning phase, but Kuro's all about outscale on this Azir.
Well, you can see Jin Air, they are roaming the river. Kramer going to move up.
First rotation of vision around the river and also the Abyssal Void. So there's a lot of threat onto Kuro being provided by the bot side.
Kramer actually potentially moving up here as Umti. Gonna move out of the way. Good double stun again from the Scat of the Week as the arrow gonna go wide. Tucson throws down the ult, keeps himself alive, and then stand behind me is going to be there. Spirit tanks a full ultimate, but why are you ulting the Sejuani? She's happy to tank that one up. Meanwhile, we're gonna have first Turret Blood go down on the top side of the map as Keen has too much pressure. And these team fights are super strange.
Well, we just had a Gragas ultimate first and then an Ashe arrow scoring a goal through the middle.
Oh, so it's the classic story, the Janna Gragas type story.
Janna Orianna also.
Oh yeah, beautiful stuff.
So, yeah, things not coming together in game number 2 for either team. Definitely can't just leverage it all onto Jin Air. But you can mention that in their dis-synergy on the engage, Rise also split pushed the Kenan's turret. That's right, Rise did take down Kenan's turret, and it's 80 Kenan, and that's really bad.
As far as this matchup is concerned, yeah, the things that we're learning here is that Rise dominates the on-hit Kenan matchup.
I don't know how he was able to auto-attack the turret that long. I guess Kenan grouped and Rise didn't at some point, but we were too engrossed in all the skills missing. Speaking of skills missing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an Arctic Assault to get out of the way of the body slam, so I don't mind. I wouldn't call it a miss necessarily. If Spirit stood still, it would have hit.
Would you say it was a zoning body slam?
I think so. It's a baiting body slam. Kuro.
Wait till we see a zoning auto-attack.
I was waiting for the flash there from So On, but decides he doesn't want to dive.
Cooldown's almost back up for Teddy and Umti. About the same cooldown on the Ash Arrow and the Cask at this present point.
Well, Kenan is really, really, really strong. He's got 2 items. Seraph's Embrace has now been completed as well, and Kuro makes his way back in. Decides he doesn't feel like he needs to go back with only half health and half mana. Kenan is very imposing on this Rise. Umti might have been caught out. That is not a zoning body slam that time around as the Dragon. Going to be getting a lot of CC. Tucson, great positioning there as well to make sure Spirit doesn't take too much damage. The Dragon going to be leashed. And Afreeca Freecs actually thinking about taking this one if they can.
It's Nova also over the wall with the Devour, stopping Umti going down. Umti wants to do this. He cannot walk past Keen.
Nope, Keen's just going to zone. Teddy standing in the front line, but he's going to get ulted. Good positioning by Nova once again with the Devour to make sure that nothing can happen, but it's the trade as the Infernal Drake goes over to the Afreeca Freecs. Great news for them, evening out the Dragons.
And Keen has been a top lane Rise aficionado for a very long time. And he always has scenarios like this where somehow he's the strongest person on the Rift again. With the Merlinomicon, as you mentioned, Atlas, no one can afford to trifle with him. Blade the Ruin King still not done for the Kenan. Did lose his turret, down 15 CS. I don't really think that a 80 on-hit Kenan from behind, who already had his turret solo taken by a Rise, is in a really good spot to take over this game, Atlas. So it seems like struggle street for Jin Air around the 1. The 4 can be powerful situationally, but Azir got a free lane and the Rise is ahead, and that does mean compositionally, when we talked about how it was a bit of a chess game with identical pieces on each side, seems like the piece is just a bit nicer on the side of Afreeca Freecs.
They are, and they're far more versatile as well, because you put Kenan into a team fight, he's still Rise. He still does about a bajillion AoE damage and can help grab these picks for the Afreeca Freecs. Kramer, he's got a couple of items here as well as his Hurricane is completed. Now Umti's going to get slowed. Going to find enough auto attacks to get the stun down. But I've really liked Tucson on this Braum so far this game. Winter's Bite going to miss there as I cast a curse the heck out of him. Sorry about that, buddy.
Of all the abilities to miss, we'll take the Winter's Bite. Do notice it's double cleanse on Tucson, and of course we saw the zoning cleanse on Kramer. No cleanse on Teddy for now.
Oh, Umti wants to find a body slam here as he does get the flash, but I don't know whether that's exactly what he wants, as he's just going to die. The miscommunications on both sides this game has been pretty woeful, but Jin Air really taking the cake here in this mid-game.
Okay, that happened. I believe the Azir was not in vision, the rest of the team was, but still, very bold in the engage was Umti.
And also completely, the rest of his team was like, I don't know whether I'm following you on that one. That was a little bit of a Leroy Jenkins, to use an old meme.
Well, at least you got chicken.
That's true, that is true. Many whelps handle it.
BBQ's here today.
No
there is free chicken around.
Hey, that's true. In our next match. Nice work. Everything is working out here as far as the stories. But the stories aren't great for our Jin Air. I don't know whether the Glad plane going to be flying here today, which is sad. Possibly the last time that we'll see them this season. Hopefully we still get to have a chat with them, even though they're not going to be able to find a win. That being said, still early days, but if they continue up this level of play, it's Afreeca Freecs slowly winning. And a lot of it has to do with that Rise, which is about 2,000 gold ahead of anyone else on his team, and even more numbers ahead of anybody else on the other team, apart from Teddy being able to always find farm on the map.
But it's been such a bizarre game where clearly more than just some members of Jin Air are a bit off their game in this one.
Yeah.
But Afreeca Freecs have made mistakes as well. So it kind of feels like Keen just got into the wrong matchmaking queue here. He's just like, I'm up 50 CS in Rise versus Kenan and split pushing things. I don't know what else is happening, but
maybe
I'm just doing my thing.
Maybe this is Keen's stream where he's like, unranked to challenger, let's see how fast we can do it. We caught him in about plat or something like that.
The weird thing is, he had a very bad couple of series in the last week, but apart from that, this kind of has been Keen every game, just being a monster. In spite of his team or whatever the enemy team is doing, he's been popping off. But Keen is just a raid boss in this game. Look at how big he is.
He's got a void. He went pure void stuff. I think he went back the So he completed his Seraph's Embrace.
I know,
a
that was
few
ages-
components
that was
came
ages
in,
ago.
but then he got a full Morellonomicon, then a full Void Staff afterwards. He's only been finding the completed items in the shop so far. He's been able to spend as much time on the Rift as he wants to, and so far ahead of the clock when it comes to the minions, as he's bottom side, has teleport available. Afreeca Freecs full control of this Baron area as another body slam comes in from Umpty, but Spirit answers back very easily with the Winter's Wrath, and Umpty not going to be able to get any casks to come in either. Remember, Tucson is there as well to deny any of these casks.
Who wins? Let's assume Rise is in the brush, so there's a face-checking advantage for the Rise.
Yep.
The enemy team is Gragas, Tom Kench, and Syndra. Who wins?
If they all walk towards him and everyone gets fluxed by his first combo, I think they all just die.
I think the Rise maybe wins
Yeah.
against those three. So he's a bit out of order.
Especially if he can free hit. And he's got Merc Tread, so he's not going to be stunned for very long.
No.
Oh god, if Teddy lands an arrow from at least a decent distance.
All right,
potentially.
Omchi, you're only as good as your last cast. This is the time.
Well, I mean, he needs a new cask then, if we're going to judge him on that particular criteria. A lot of vision available for Jin Air, though, defensively, as the Afreeca Freecs think that they have a lot, but they don't.
But this is
They've got
definitely
one
Jin Air with a
control
huge information lead. They know there's at least two people in that brush. Spirit's going in.
Yeah, they're going to try and find the Devour, but the ultimate's going to be layered. It's nicely done, but the flash comes out from Nova. That's going to deny, and if we're going to judge him on his last cask, it's still crap, Papa Smithy.
Sometimes you have to be very clear on your wording. That was an oopsie.
That's another
This
whoopsie.
game's a bit of an
But
oopsie.
remember, it was the unseen whoopsies that were the deadliest. That wasn't a very deadly one.
That was quite an obvious oopsie.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, that happened.
It's an oopsie, I think. It's definitely an oopsie type game.
A lot of people at 3 a.m. are feeling really good about tuning into Korean League of Legends as Jin Air going to push forward. There's no meaningful gold lead here. We know that the Rise is most of the gold lead, and they're trying to gank him. Who is the 3?
Yeah, well, he's going to get stunned, so Realm Warp isn't going to work. He hasn't actually pressed too many buttons. He's going to get taken down by Teddy as he turns up. I have a feeling if he had have just stood and fought, it would have been a better story. However, there was enough layering of CC, and he does fall down in the end.
Doesn't look for the outplay, goes down. Keen is dead, but Afreeca Freecs with 4 in the mid lane want to take this turret.
Yeah, 4v2. It's going to be the Mountain Drake being taken by the rest of Jin Air. Teleport going to come in. It's going to be Nova coming back with his Unsteeled Spellbook, and Teddy soloing down the Mountain Drake. He's got a hell of a lot of health, but no one on Afreeca has any information about this one, and Afreeca dropping the ball a little bit when it comes to the vision.
And your boy Teddy has also had a non-interactive game where he has 310 CS.
Teddy versus Keen, is that what we're playing here, Papa?
You know, that would have been the featured matchup when it comes to stars. That's probably the featured matchup for this game also, so we'll take it. Hopefully we see a fight between the two. I think the Rise will win, but if the Rise gets enough peel, so if the Ashe gets enough peel, who knows? Bit of a standoff in mid lane. Keen still 2 seconds on the death timer. Went domination second.
And he's level 17 already, so
I mean,
no wonder the
really
death time
big.
is so big.
He's really strong.
Good lord.
Who has more gold? The answer is Rise by 400.
The fact that it's Keen versus Teddy, but Keen has a 3-level advantage as well is a little bit frightening, as Kramer, he can't move up to this turret because he's level 13. And so much of the money has been hoovered up by Keen. The other solo laner on his team being
tricky.
2 levels behind is, all right, this was an old tactic that you used to be able to do, as the Afreeca Freecs going to move on over. Remember, Spirit's not exactly the tankiest right now, but this might be something that they can do. He's going to get spotted in the end as Spirit almost just killed. There was another row of spikes. That's actually unavoidable as the arrow's going to fly, but Tucson going to flash, decides not to soak it with the Unbreakable. Instead, going to play it as safe as possible.
And assume that it was on cooldown, but you're right, there is of course also a valid reason to just flash away. The exhaust and the barrier available. I don't count that as a whoopsie because there's chain CC on the side of Jin Air to punish someone who's CC'd for 2 seconds.
Feels like the player's been tidied up a little bit here by Jin Air, as the pressure advantage certainly feels like it's in their hands. Even though Afreeca do have a slight lead when it comes to gold, this outer turret just getting free hit by Teddy. Keen trying to find some spells off to the side, but you can see the flanks of this fight are being fought by both teams. Umpty actually getting the health lead from Kuro.
Keen's around the flank, level 17, Realm Warp available, but probably too slow. And Engage try to use it. Keen walks up. Seems like a back timing for Kramer, who's low on mana. Just want to stop this turret going down. We still have mid lane turrets up in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and so Kramer not going to be able to help out as far as clearing out minions, but wave clear is not wanting on the side of the Afreeca Freecs with Kenan and Kuro available, so Jin Air can have to find a different point of attack with both of their side lanes pushing in. Infinity Edge done, actually, for Kramer. So he's got the perfect 3 items, whereas Teddy felt like he needed to go towards more of Malmortius given the amount of magic damage available for the Afreeca Freecs.
You can't die instantly to a Rise face check or just Azir by accident in a team fight, so it has to go more in order to actually get out consistent damage. Would love an Infinity Edge, of course, but
Yeah.
not available. Enemy team doesn't have a lot of armor yet, so there's not a big quandary there. And I feel good about damage output at 3 items, even though more does represent a bit of damage. Downturn towards being cleared. Still waiting to see Rise hit a side lane. We're actually seeing Keen group at the moment.
See whether Umti can get his eye back in, because I feel like it's the only thing separating Afreeca Freecs and Jin Air at the moment is the fact that Umti really hasn't found the Gragas performance that he wants so far, as Keen, once again on the flank. Got actually spotted, given good control wards around this mid lane, on the sides at least, for the Afreeca Freecs. Vision elsewhere, not exactly fantastic though, for our red team.
Already outlined how Afreeca Freecs have great Baron speed. Jin Air's is decent, of course, as well.
Their turn also fantastic with the amount of CC that they can throw out.
Looking at the Gathering Storm here, it's a Jin Air game, but this season has been bereft of Gathering Storm compared to previous ones. 2 on the side of Afreeca Freecs.
Yep, Keen with the biggest number there, but because it's AP, but also because he's gigantic. Currently 50 CS ahead of the clock as Jin Air are going to turn up. Control ward going to be cleared here in the Baron pit as the Baron also gets a little bit mad. Wags its tail there at Teddy, who gets a little bit bothered and hops up into the sky.
Team Tucson roam bot side, put down Vision. Spot
See
some
whether
of
he
the
can
pathing
steal
here.
the Bramble back.
The other thing that I think you're doing this is, yeah, he's just going to look for the steal now. But the reason why you put down a ward like that is we've had this weird game where Vision has dropped and been traded around Baron. If you see Umti bot side, Kuro and Kramer can delete the Baron in half a second. So
Yeah.
this is very much to spot the enemy jungler if he's ever in his red side jungle, and then allow Afreeca an answering Baron buff. As, yep, that's how this matchup was going to go.
Eventually, at least, as the Zhonya's Hourglass is going to come in next here for Keen, he'll have even more survivability. Not going to be able to utilize that alongside his Realm Warp, of course, but otherwise going to be a great pickup here for the Afreeca Freecs top laner.
Oh.
Feels bad. At least he gets the zombie ward out of it. That's great news. Now going to have a little bit more adaptive damage.
Front-to-back teamfight does favor Afreeca Freecs exclusively at the moment because they have double Void Staff, even though there's decent magic resist already put together by Jin Air. There's no way to be able to stand up in a true front-to-back teamfight. Also, Jin Air have much more of a pick comp than Afreeca Freecs does, given that Syndra cannot ape the Azir in a 5v5 in terms of consistent damage, but right now we've hit those item timings where it's most clear. A lot of magic pan onto the Azir and the Rise, so Jin Air have to choose their spots, and like you say, I think it's really Umti hits the cask of life, or Umti condemns his team to death, depending on that next cask.
I think so too, and if the last two have told any stories, it's been pretty woeful here on the side of Jin Air. See whether he can turn that one around like we were illustrating earlier. Afreeca Freecs don't have their Rise. He can be there at a moment's notice as Sand Soldiers are hanging around. Teddy playing some relative frontline and does proc the Q. Unbreakable just going to eat a lot of that damage, but Spirit, that's important. Doesn't have a Warmogs yet, so damage is going to stick at least for a little while.
How do we get back to this Azir versus Xerath territory of 33-minute outer turrets? Didn't think Syndra would be involved in that discussion. Poking on both sides are Afreeca Freecs and Jin Air.
Nova sensing a teamfight actually pops the Ghost just to give himself
Keen
back
is
the
walking
cleanse.
down as the Kenan is also trying to follow. So the Keen will be here much earlier.
Yep, Ultimate is going to land. Good body slam gets Umti out of the way as they're looking to split up this fight. Keen moving in, but full vision available from Jin Air, and they move together around that top side. So the Rise relatively zoned. Kramer going to start off this Dragon, and Afreeca going to try and augment their first Infernal with another. Umti going to have a lot of burst damage potential. Doesn't steal it. Kuro, in fact, he's able to grab that one as the Devour from Nova gets Umti out of the way. Jeanette lose themselves an Infernal Drake. It's still 2 turrets, 2 dragons apiece, but the most coveted ones going over to Afreeca, and exactly the ones they want for their team fight comp.
No smite used there by Jinair. Spirit used his early, and Azir cleaned it up. Pushing up to this mid lane turret, there's so much damage to respect.
Yeah, so much pick potential to respect on the other side as well. Afreeca Freecs just moving their Rise minion hoover into each side lane to make sure that they have priority there. He's got himself his Zhonya's. We're going to illustrate his CS.
Man.
Yes, it is still pretty bogus, as he's 70 ahead of the clock.
Yeah,
35
412
minutes.
at 34 for a top laner is really obscene. It has been at the cost of his AD carry, who hasn't been able to pick up as much farm, but in Korea we see much less AD carry in side lane than you do in the LCS regions and the LPL as well.
We don't have
Uzi,
double lift here.
chief offender. Hey, Uzi's right up there.
Hey,
too.
that's true,
Those
bud.
two are certainly up there and picking up sideway farm in the past.
I was watching old double lift interviews, so a little bit less double lift now, definitely double lift in the past.
It's a funny thing, if you look at like super players of the past also, you notice how much the mechanical ceiling of League of Legends is raised.
Yeah.
And then, connected to your point, the 10 CS a minute seems outdated. Feels like 12 CS a minute is now, they're like pretty good. And then from there, anything bigger than that is even more impressive. So times have changed. What is immaculate, what is amazing has certainly evolved over the years. Players have got better and better at League of Legends.
Yep. The fundamentals especially. Sitting in custom games, farming out minions, and understanding where waves are going to be at any given time as well. I feel like is information that went from relatively mysterious in Season 1 to something that everyone has down to a fine art now.
If Syndra can get a death cap, you amusingly as Syndra go from really good early game to falling away a bit in the mid game when you can't one rotation someone to at some point when you have 6-item Syndra, somebody's going to die, especially with the Q now giving more damage when it evolves rather than having more spheres on the ground. So deleting anyone, creating a 5v4 is really big for Jinair, and they have great pick CC to make it happen and then try to get a Baron against the flow of the game.
Well, now the wave's going to be equalized on the bottom side. Keen once again groups up with his team. They know that there's been 2 scrying orbs used very, very recently. So information is going wanting here on the side of Jinair. However, the backs are going to come in from Afreeca. I felt like they could have really capitalized on Jinair just having to face check those brushes. Instead, they're going to go back home, grab some more items, and Jinair will have free reign of this outer turret in the mid lane unless Keen and Kramer can be enough to deter them. Arrow going to land point blank onto Spirit.
Oh my
taking
God.
a lot of damage. Oh, the cask to save his life, though, as the turret is finally going to be taken down. Kuro looking for more, but Teddy going to be gobbled up by Nova. Tucson still wants this fight, though. Throws the ultimate down earlier on. Grace's going to get exploded now that the Devour is not there. Nova can only save so many people. That's the pick that Afreeca were looking for. Can they now just take the Baron?
They were so desperate to make it happen, flashing forward, trying to get the picks. Jinair are still around. We can see Umti's there. The casks haven't worked, but the smite, it could be so crucial.
Yeah, Spirit's only now going to make his way in. They're deciding not to go for the 50-50 as Nova.
Okay.
Is going to look down. Oh, there's the Emperor's Divide, just explodes. Teddy! I thought the Slicing Maelstrom being in the team was going to be bad, but no, it's not. The amount of damage that Afreeca have is gigantic. Realm Warp on top of Nova as well. They want more. Kramer flashes in, trying to find the Quadra. He'll get it. And the Afreeca Freecs will take down the outer turret and the Baron and possibly win the game. Good God, the plays from Afreeca finally.
Kuro took 37 minutes to find the button, but he found the win button on the Azir. Scoops in Teddy. One large scoop of Teddy is always going to be a victory for Afreeca Freecs. With those death timers, they might have done it.
Yep. And it looked like disaster, honestly, but this was an on-hit cannon. It's not going to be the AP cannon for the explosive damage. Okay, see you later, Grace. Out of the death chamber, back in. He missed it. He wanted to go down once more, and the sad plane is going to be airing again tonight, guys. A 0-2 for Jinair, but Afreeca Freecs are in the playoffs.
So many results to discuss with Afreeca Freecs winning with a 2-0 victory, 2-0 or 2-1. As of Hanwha Life's loss yesterday, Afreeca Freecs will make the playoffs. You see their coaches come in, Comet, and also Zephyr to high five. Well, and also to murder Kramer, apparently. In the booth, Afreeca Freecs are now going to be in the wildcard match. That is guaranteed. Also, Hanwha Life Esports now have no circuit points. 6th in spring, 6th in summer, no circuit points. So SK Telkom T1, having got 30 points from finishing in 4th place in spring season, now have enough circuit points to make it to the World's Gauntlet. They will play in the first round of the Worlds qualifier. This is still weeks away, but when those weeks come around, SKT win 3 best-of-5s in a row, they will go to Worlds.
They will. It's definitely a tall order. There's going to be some pretty incredible teams in that gauntlet. However, the hopes are not yet dead for SKT. But talking about these two teams here, we're going to have a look at some of the highlights from this game. Afreeca Freecs game 1 certainly cleaner, but this team fight.
That's all you need to do as the Azir, the Shreema Shuffle play. They're so important. Azir Sec, we're in Korea, let's call it an Azir Sec. It was beautiful stuff. Able to clean up from here, and we mentioned Jinna just wanted to delete one person. Afreeca Freecs had the team fight damage. They finally got the team fight where they weren't kited to death. They killed the mid lane turret in the same play that ended the game, from mid lane turret to the Nexus in one play.
Exactly, that's 5 turrets in a row all throughout. That one play around the Baron, they decided they didn't even need to get it. They had a minion wave.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. The Baron not picked up, and the mid lane outer turret to end of the game in one push.
Yeah, I haven't actually. I'd have to think back, but
that's min-maxing right
it's
there.
Certainly a tall order, and shows how slow the mid game was as well. It was very reserved play from both sides. There was some weird stuff happening. We saw zoning cleansers coming out, and then the same player picking up a quadra kill in the deciding team fight. Of course, won by that man on your screen in the middle there, Kuro. Oh man, the Emperor's Divide, beautiful, and I believe the memes about his Azir are almost completely dead at this point.
Had a couple of fluffs when it came to skill order in lane, but didn't matter. He made the big play in the late game. He didn't make any huge mistakes, and thus, pass marks for Kuro. The Azir one to respect from him. In this day and age, probably a 35% win rate now, knowing how statistics work. Congratulations to him. He seems relieved. Afreeca Freecs should be. They got a reprieve from KT 2-0ing Hanwha Life yesterday. Teddy, a bit of a lone hand again, bit of a woeful one from some of his teammates on the side of Jinna in game number 2.
I thought Nova played okay, you know, making sure that Teddy could play as aggressively as he wanted to, but I guess he's Tahm Kench.
Well, the Kenan lost lane to the Rise, had a game to forget, and the Syndra lost lane to the Azir. So that one didn't go so well when it came to the supporting cast. 2v8, I guess, would be this one. For good old Teddy.
Well,
let's hand out that MVP. We don't have too many more to give out.
Yeah, who's it going to go to? It is going to be the man that won the last team fight, Kuro. 2-0-6, finishes the season on 900 points as well. Once again, another fantastic MVP season for Kuro. Won't be hitting that number 1 spot because Khan is on 1,100 points with a match to play. But still a great performance from him.
Top 2 a year ago. Again, top 3 in spring, and now possibly top 2 again. Kuro has had remarkably consistent time. When it comes to seasons, I think he did fall away after Rift Rivals, but everyone in Afreeca Freecs was guilty of that. They came into this series 3-6 in their last 9. 4-6 doesn't sound too much better for a team that is trying to assault the playoffs. We will have our runner-up team from spring make it to playoffs, but only at 5th spot, and only after an extended tussle in game number 2 against Jinna.
Yeah, and remember, they were the highest qualified team to head over to Rift Rivals as well, so pretty odd to have the Afreeca Freecs now battling for their place, but they won that battle. They are going to be running the full gauntlet if they're going to get to the final once again this season. It was a lot of capitalization on mistakes so far this game, but game number 1 certainly was more of that exercise in finesse from Afreeca Freecs that we know they're capable of.
It's nice to have everything fall into place when it comes to who the top 5 teams are. The order is still to be decided in our last 3 best-of-3s of summer season. But now we will know Afreeca Freecs will be there. Harsh to Hanwha Life, but their loss to Jinna last time out in spring season was what gate-kept them. This time, they only had themselves to blame for not picking up the 2-0 against Afreeca at the end of last week. That would have guaranteed their top 5 spot. Made mistakes in execution. Songyun face-checked after a Baron steal. That shouldn't have happened, and that means that Hanwha Life will finish 6th, a 2nd split in a row. A good result, but not a great result. Kuro stares into your soul and says, it's playoffs one more time.
Exactly. Fantastic play from him, and it means that as this is the last time we're going to see them in the regular split, we're going to have a full team interview. So let's throw it back to Andy for some translation.
Hello guys, this is not going to be a standard MVP interview today. We're going to do an MVP interview with the whole squad of Afreeca Freecs.
네, 승리의 기쁨을 만끽하고 있는 스피릿 선수.
you guys seem very happy that you won the game. It wasn't too easy, but you guys ended up taking the win. No, I thank my fans. Thank you guys.
경기는 어쨌든 본인들이 잘한 거잖아요.
You guys definitely overperformed today.
경기 내용 자체는 만족할 만한 수준 아닌데.
The games didn't really go well as we planned.
잘한 것 같고요.
But I think in the end we didn't play too bad. You know, people are saying that your Olaf is just first tier. It's so good.
물론이죠. 저희 팀이 또 연구하는 팀이잖아요. 그렇기
You know, as a team we always experiment with new picks and new strategies. And you know, I think I did really well today. So you guys definitely looked into the enemy strategy and was able to counter it. Keen, you know, you're a solid performer, but today you fumbled a little bit. How do you feel?
최근에 확실히 좀 많이 던지는 게
You know, recently I've seen myself throwing a bit. You know, it definitely wasn't a satisfactory match. You know, in Keen's perspective, you're not a veteran. You don't have a lot of experience. You know, I'm assuming you felt nervous. You know, just right before the match, I was very nervous, and as soon as I got into the rift, all that nervousness just went away. You know, there's another player who had a lot on his shoulders as well, and that is Tusin, Kuro. And then Kuro, you actually went for the Azir, which is kind of like a taboo to you. You know, I had the confidence that I could perform well with Azir. You know, until now, I've had moments where Azir, you know, I didn't show good performance on Azir. But you're very proficient with the Sand Soldiers today. In the first and the second set, there were a lot of highlights that we would like to portray. You know, let's take a look at the bottom dive that the Spirit was very instrumental in. You know, you killed the Israel when his stopwatch was unavailable. You know, everyone made the right call and we all coordinated our movement. And you know, our bot duo said that we have full control in the bot lane and that we should go for it, and then we engaged. Kramer, would you like to say something? So in the 2 consecutive wins, you performed very well as well. How do you feel? You know, it's been a while since I last came out and I'm feeling a little nervous. Are you satisfied with your performance today? I'm not highly satisfactory, but generally I think I performed right. And you know, you are very good at using the conventional ADCs and unconventional ADCs. No, I'm not overly confident in using those unconventional ADCs. But since they gave me Swain to pick, I just picked it. And I guess the situation was right for you. And Tusin, can you get the mic? And you know, Kramer, he's renowned as the very solid ADC, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You know, I don't know if it's because he was feeling nervous today, but he wasn't listening to my calls. But considering all that, I think he performed alright. You know, in the first set, there were 6 support bans, and you know, the enemy took Alistair. How did you feel? You know, I was like wondering if 5 supports are getting banned, what am I gonna pick? And then, you know, I had the Joker card that I could use, so I wasn't too afraid. So you definitely were planning ahead. And Aatrox was, you know, it was open today for pick. And you know, you looked surprised that the Aatrox was open.
일단 아트록스가 솔직히 푸는 팀이 종종 있어요 스크림에서도.
You know, even during scrims, there are times when Aatrox is open.
네, 안 돼요.
네.
You know, that's never a wise decision.
게임이 좀 폭파 느낌으로.
And the game just, you know, it's so easy when you go for Aatrox.
아트록스가 큰 상관은 없었다 이런 분석도 있는데. 키인 선수 만약에 본인이 아트록스를 잡았다면은
You know, Keen,
게임 양상은 좀더
if you're able to use Aatrox, how do you think the game would have went?
서희 형보다 제가 더 아트록스를 잘한다 생각.
I definitely think I'm the better Aatrox player than Kuro.
그래도 이겨서 뭐 상관은 없네요.
But you know, considering that we won today, I don't have many problems.
리메이크전 아트록스는 공감을 해요.
I agree that the pre-remake Aatrox, Keen was better at it, but post-remake,
항상 라인전 하는데
no, I'm skeptical, and I think I was the better one.
죽는 경우도 많더라고요.
And Keen definitely died a lot with Aatrox.
전가우로 그럼 그냥 훈훈하게 나눠서
Okay, let's make it a very happy ending.
참 어쨌든 쉽진 않은 과정이지만 결국에는 플레이오프를
You know, it wasn't the cleanest journey.
스프링 같은 경우에는 2위에서 어떻게 보면은 올라오는 팀들을
But in the spring split, you were actually finally placed in second place and playing against the teams from the bottom side that were climbing up to the ladder.
좀 험난할 것 같거든요. 이게 좀
You know, I feel like we have a very hard journey ahead of us,
좀 최선을 다해서
but we will always try our best.
그러면 또 이런 상황에서 경기가 많기 때문에 크레이머 선수도 어쨌든 본인의 뭐 오랜 경력과
You know, Kramer,
여러 가지를 통해서 팀에 좀 많은
you have a lot of experience and you've gotta be like a very
크레이머 선수는
일단
very good ADC to the team.
그건 생각 못 해봤는데 일단 가면은 잘할 것 같고.
I think I will continue to play well and show solid performance.
팀원들한테 좀 부담이 있나 봐요, 크레이머 선수가.
And Kramer, you seem like you have a lot on your shoulders right now.
잘할 수 있을 거라고 믿고 있습니다. 그리고 아까 이제
And we believe that you'll play well.
KT한테 고맙다 이런 이야기도 했었는데, 그럼 반대로
And you guys
오늘
said you guys are
선수들한테
thankful to
뭐
KT.
힘내라고 거꾸로 뭐 응원하거나 혹시 뭐 이런 선수 있었어요? 오늘 잘해달라.
And were there any players who cheer for you guys today? Not really. And I hope KT wins. KT, let's go for the first place.
끝까지 뭐 많이들 아신 것처럼 순위가 막 맞물리고 세트 승리.
You know, we're still in the we still haven't finished, and a lot of the rankings are still changing, so we can't really speculate at this point. And Afreeca Freecs, they secured a spot in the playoffs today.
결계로 제일 중요한 1승을 성공시킨 것 같습니다. 자, 그럼 이제 또 서머 정규는 여기서
Okay, so and this is the end of the regular summer split. And as a representative, Kuro, would you like to say a word?
저희 1라운드 시작은 되게 좋았지만 2라운드가 되게 안 좋았는데.
You know, in the first round we had a very nice start, but in the second round we showed disappointing performance.
그리고 팬분들 항상
And you know, I would like to shout out to all my fans for cheering us. And I love you guys.
네, 생방송으로 보고 있었다. 네. 마지막 일격까지 확실했던 것 같습니다. 2라운드에 좀 아쉬운 결과들이 있긴
In the second round, you mentioned that you were a little disappointed.
가져가고 기분 좋게 마무리했으니까요.
But in the end, you guys secured a spot, and you know everything is good.
멋진 경기력 보여주기를 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다.
And we continue to expect good results from you. And that's gonna be the end of the interview. And I'll throw it back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Andy. Great to hear from all of the Afreeca Freecs. Good luck to them in the playoffs. It's going to be a tough run, but they have secured their spot. And once again, Jin Air signed the death warrant to Hanwha Life. It was Rox Tigers last time. This time it's Hanwha. It was with a victory last time. With the loss here, means that once again, Hanwha not going to make the playoffs.
And it's a double death warrant. So to explain, Hanwha Life Esports finished 6th in both spring and summer. I know there's some misinformation on the LoL Esports website about how circuit points in Korea work, but in Korea, 6th is not part of playoffs. You get no circuit points. Hanwha Life have 0. SK Telecom T1 have 30 circuit points from finishing top 4th in spring season. That is enough for them to make the Worlds qualifier. They will have to win 3 best-of-5s against some very strong teams. So can they make Worlds? Yes. Will they make Worlds? Probably not. That's the reality. That is for a different day, though. For today, Griffin will play BBQ Olivers in our second set. It's going to be in a while, Atlas. It's only 7:02 p.m. Korean Standard Time. So about 48 minutes of break before we can show you Griffin.
Yeah, approximately 50 minutes, and then it'll be Griffin versus BBQ. We're going to say goodbye to BBQ. Unfortunately, they will be playing again, though, in the promotion tournament. That is guaranteed. But for now, guys, it is going to be that long break. So go and find something to do. Certainly a lot of options. And we'll see you after about 50 minutes.
But you're the criminal. No implication. You're unpredictable. Time to lose See you later on in the fast lane, yeah. You run the system, but you're invisible. You're on a mission to take the city on. Time to lose control. See you later on in the fast lane, yeah. I knew you were a bad man. Oh, I knew it. Don't try to hide it, you're a bad man.
Coming up next, Griffin, BBQ Olivers, 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Summer Split.